Where's the story called? Give me a hell yeah.
Right? We never talked about stuff very often. We just went in the ring, and if they weren't buying something that they bought the night before or whatever, we went in a different direction. We made an audible, we called an audible, we went in a different direction. That's what this business is. That's why, to me, it's the greatest form of entertainment there is. We can change directions at the drop of a hat. We can also work that direction. We can also make them feel like we're going away, get them another way, move a certain way, and people can look back at it afterwards and say, well, they would have done that if we didn't do this. That's the way it's always been. If they don't cheer for Hulk Hogan and go crazy for him in Minneapolis and do all those things, Vince doesn't bring him here in order to do what Vern wasn't doing with him. You know what I'm saying? And to make Hulkamania happen. Was he listening to those fans? Absolutely. He was calling all that stuff as it went. Same with you.
Right. Watching that crowd tonight, I was wondering, who would get the strongest reaction. Both guys got strong reactions. I was back here and couldn't really hear the full effect of the crowd, but it's supply and demand. And it seemed like for a time there, people really wanted Roman Reigns, and they would give him Roman Reigns. And then, not so much. Daniel Bryan comes back and they want Daniel Bryan, and, you got a supply of each. Then they started demanding more Bryan, and it kept giving Roman. And the people started getting a little hot, and again, he got the resentment towards that.
Yeah.
So, it's just tough.
It's tough. It's a tough environment now. It's a tough, people will say all the time about Cena, like, I read that all the time. God, don't we listen? People are tired of Cena. They don't want to see him anymore. They don't want to see this. There's such a long period of time where half the people were booing John, half the people were cheering for him, but he was packing arenas. Right. He was selling more merchandise. He was more popular than ever. Everything that we did, John was so far ahead of everybody else from a reaction standpoint. It doesn't matter if half the people hate him, half the people love him. I think that it's difficult now to find the person that every single person, from young to old, from teenage kid, the Attitude Era, in a little bit of it was almost easier. We had a tight demographic. We knew what we were looking at. We were looking at kids. We were showing them, the things that.
So what are you looking at now?
It's different, right? Because you've got a 10-year-old kid sitting in the crowd, an 8-year-old kid sitting in the crowd. Next to him's a 22-year-old with all his buddies that are they want to see something totally different. But then you got the mom and the dad, and then you got the grandparents. We go across every single age group, every single race and religion and everything else. You cross so many barriers that it's hard to say, oh, this is the one guy that everybody's going to like this guy. You know what I mean? Everybody's going to like that, and then he's the good guy, and that guy's the bad guy. Because half of that crowd's going to like the bad guy. Half of that crowd's going to like the good guy. Almost worst thing you can do right now is make somebody a good guy.
But in today's day and age, yeah. But you brought up the Attitude Era just now, and when I go back and back to our glory days, my glory days, you're still around. Just the show,
hanging on by a thread,
but you're still here. You got a few good years left in you, kid. It just seemed like that show in that time, and maybe it's because I'm behind it.